Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mace, and today on Experimental Reviews, I'm doing a review of Alan Wake 2 on PlayStation 5. Now, obviously, I haven't done an unboxing of this yet because there's not yet a physical copy, but I'm hoping that there will be once the two expansions come out next year. But without further ado, let's get on with the review. Now, the first and most obvious thing about Alan Wake 2 is that the graphics are pretty great. They're right up there with some of the best that's come out this fall, including Spider-Man 2. There are some effects that are missing that are on the PC version or the Xbox Series console versions, but other than that, the game looks pretty amazing in motion. And it has two modes on PlayStation 5. Quality mode, it's supposed to be 4K 30 frames per second, but it does have hitches every now and then. And 1440 1080p at 60 frames per second performance mode. Now, as you can see by this digital foundry comparison, PlayStation 5 version of Alan Wake 2 doesn't have the ray traced reflections. They're just screen space reflections, and they use ray tracing for the shadows in the game, but it still looks pretty great. And if you don't try to compare it to the other versions, it's a visual treat for the eyes still if you're just playing through it on PS5 and happy to play it. The story is pretty great, and you end up with a lot of twists here and there that make you think about things differently, and the ending definitely was differently than I expected. And the game does its best to try and incorporate other Remedy games in other universes. Obviously, they don't own Quantum Break or Max Payne, so they can't really directly use those, but there are a lot of Control references in the game, and a few that you'll really enjoy. One that I'm going to point out that I didn't realize until after I'd finished my first playthrough is the character of Sheriff Tim Breaker, who of course is the brother of Sheriff Sarah Breaker from the first game, who's taken a federal job. She's not dead yet, apparently, but Tim Breaker is obviously Time Breaker, as in the time gameplay of Quantum Break, and he suggests some other connections that you'll see later on in the game that really connect well with this character. Now, obviously, playing the game, you're pretty much going to get beaten over the head with the Max Payne references, even though Remedy doesn't own it. And it's what I call Empire Aben, Max Payne in all but name. And that's exactly the feeling that you're going to get from the Alex Casey character that he created. Especially later on in the game, you're going to get a lot of things that sound like they were taken directly from a Max Payne game, which is pretty cool. You just don't ever hear him use that name or get to see him doing any of his, time dodging or anything. The game also has a lot of Easter eggs for Twin Peaks fans, especially the Sheriff Station, which looks like it was taken right out of the Twin Peaks series. It uses pretty much the same design. And there's a nice diner that's reminiscent of the Double R, and a lot of the characters seem like they were taken from Twin Peaks, like the lamp lady instead of the log lady, and so on. There are also other bigger Control references to find. You finally get to see what Thomas Zane actually looks like, and there's these Alex Casey lunchboxes scattered throughout the world that you can pick up that are pretty fun. There's also a bigger emphasis on puzzles this time around, and there are a few that you have to pick up specific pieces and put them in the right order, and other puzzles that are kind of like that, and pick up fuses and connect them. There's a lot less combat this time around, and most of it's puzzles or exploration. Like I said, Alan Wake 2 has a fantastic story that I don't really want to spoil any of for anybody, but pretty much just assume that it takes place right after the AWE event DLC in Control, and after Alan Wake's American Nightmare, and you'll pretty much get an idea of what's going on. Or you could just watch somebody play a stream of those, and then you'll still get a good idea. Alright, so this time around you've got two different enemy types. The first enemy type is obviously the Taken, and they come from the Dark Place. Second are these Cult of the Deer members, and they put up a little bit more of a fight than the Taken do. And unlike the Taken, you can't just walk by some of them. They're all pretty much attack right when you see them. There's also an upgrade system for weapons this time around, even though there's less combat. And you can pick up these pieces for different weapons throughout the game and then go into the mind place in order to connect them to the weapon that you want to use. Speaking of the mind place, I think that's one place where people are going to get pretty upset and frustrated with. It kind of looks like the Twin Peaks Sheriff's Office conference room, and you pick up these pictures and clues throughout the game that you have to string together on the wall, but they don't automatically snap into place right away, or even have easy ideas of where to place them. You just kind of have to move them around until they click into place, and that can be pretty frustrating sometimes and make the game take a lot longer than it needs to. And that is probably the only mechanic that I didn't like in the game, but I didn't get stuck on it, and it just was time consuming. Now, just like Alan Wake's American Nightmare, there are TVs that you can find throughout the game, I guess like Control 2, but they only feature commercials of these two strange fisherman characters trying to sell the different Bright Falls merchandise that they have. They're pretty funny to watch and very low budget, obviously, but it would have been nice to have seen at least one episode of Night Springs. But they do have a Night Springs DLC coming up that I'm looking forward to. Lastly, I'm going to mention that if you're an empathetic person, you're probably going to have a strong reaction to Saga's story and the appearances of Alice Wake throughout the game. Yeah, she appears, and I'm not going to spoil exactly how, because it has a pretty big impact on everything, but I mean, it's fantastic, it's well implemented, and I hope to see more of her in the future, even though it looks a certain way in the game so far. The last thing I forgot to mention earlier was that Alan has a writer's desk other room that's taken from the dark place, so it's under the water, and you can see the porthole windows on the back, and you can go there to find the manuscript pages and put them all together and everything. So my attitude kind of changed about this game. I wasn't going to buy it initially because it wasn't physical, but after watching some gameplay from it and seeing how much it was like Twin Peaks, which I love with all my heart, I decided that I just would go ahead and buy it digitally. And I don't regret it at all. I think anybody that wants to pay the $59.99 plus tax digitally is gonna get a really good time out of the game. And apparently in the upcoming New Game Plus mode, it's gonna have a different ending, which is good because the first ending kind of has the stink of the whole Halo 2 finish the fight thing. But overall, I would definitely say amazing game, amazing looking, even though it's probably the worst version of it except for the lower NPCs. But yeah, I would definitely buy it if you're an Alan Wake fan or you've been waiting the 13 years for the game to come out. Alright, so that's the end of my experimental review on this. I'm only doing it this way because I still don't have a computer yet. Hopefully sometime in the next few months I'll be able to rectify that. But if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one.